On my 68th birthday, my daughter drove me to Shady Pines Nursing Home, handed my suitcase to the receptionist, and said, "She's all yours now." She left me standing in that sterile hallway without a backward glance, but she had no idea who was sitting in the wheelchair right behind me, listening to every word. Hello, my dear listeners. Thank you for being here. If you enjoy stories like this, please subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. I always find it fascinating to read which cities and countries you're listening from, so don't hesitate to write a comment. Now, please get comfortable. Happy listening. For 40 years, I was a nurse at St. Mary's Hospital in Cincinnati. I held the hands of dying patients. I comforted grieving families. I worked double shifts, triple shifts, holidays, and weekends. I thought I understood suffering. I thought I had seen the worst of what people could do to each other. I was wrong. The worst was waiting for me at home, wearing my daughter's face. My husband Richard passed away 3 years ago. Pancreatic cancer, quick and merciless. One day he was grilling burgers in the backyard, the next he was gone. After 41 years of marriage, I found myself alone in our 4-bedroom colonial on Maple Street, the house we had saved for, dreamed about, raised our daughter Jessica in. For 2 years after Richard's death, I managed fine. I had my garden, my book club, my volunteer work at the church food pantry. The house was too big for one person, sure, but it was filled with memories. Richard's reading glasses still sat on the nightstand, his cardigan still hung by the back door. I wasn't ready to let go. Then came the fall. Last November, I slipped on ice in the driveway and shattered my hip. The surgery was complicated. The recovery was slow. I spent 3 weeks in the hospital, then 4 weeks in a rehabilitation facility. During that entire time, my daughter Jessica visited exactly twice. But the phone calls, those came daily. "Mom, you can't go back to that big house alone. What if you fall again? What if something happens and no one finds you for days?" Her husband Derek was always on the extension, his oily voice sliding through the speaker. "Margaret, we've been talking. We want you to come live with us. We have that spare room. You'd have family around. It's the safest option." I resisted at first. Jessica and I had never been close, not since she married Derek 15 years ago. He was a real estate developer, always talking about investments and returns and market values. He looked at everything, including people, and calculated what they were worth. I never liked the way he looked at my house. But the doctors said I shouldn't be alone. My physical therapist said I needed help with daily activities for at least 3 more months, and Jessica, for once in her adult life, seemed genuinely concerned. "Please, Mom," she said during her second visit, holding my hand with what felt like real warmth. "Let us take care of you. You took care of me my whole childhood. Let me return the favor." I believed her. God help me. I believed her. I moved into their guest room in January. At first, things were fine. Jessica made me breakfast. Derek helped me to my physical therapy appointments. They gave me a little bell to ring if I needed anything during the night. I thought maybe I had misjudged them. Maybe facing my mortality had softened something in my daughter. The changes started small. First, it was the mail. "Mom, I'll handle your mail while you're recovering. No need to worry about bills and paperwork." I thought she was being helpful. Then it was my bank statements. I set up online access so I can make sure nothing falls through the cracks. Still, I trusted her. Then came the questions about the house. "Mom, that old colonial must be expensive to maintain. Property taxes, heating costs, repairs. Have you thought about what you want to do with it?" "I want to go back to it," I said, "as soon as I'm better." Jessica and Derek exchanged a look. It happened so fast I almost missed it, but something cold passed between them. "Of course," Jessica said, smiling. "We just want to make sure you're thinking about your options." The options became clearer over the following weeks. Brochures started appearing on my nightstand. Sunny Meadows Senior Living, Golden Years Retirement Community, Shady Pines Care Facility. Each one promised comfortable accommodations and professional care and peace of mind for the whole family. "Just something to consider," Derek would say, "for the future." My hip healed faster than expected. By early March, I was walking with just a cane. I started talking about going home, about having Jessica drive me back to Maple Street so I could air out the house, check on things, start planning my return. That's when everything changed. It was a Tuesday morning. I remember because the garbage trucks were running late, and their rumbling woke me up early. I walked to the kitchen, moving slowly but steadily, proud of my progress. Jessica and Derek were at the table, papers spread between them, speaking in low, urgent voices. They didn't hear me coming. The appraisal came back at 420, Derek was saying. In this market, we could probably get 450, maybe 460 if we stage it right. What about the stuff inside? Jessica asked. All that old furniture, Dad's things? Estate sale. Or just dump it. The new buyers won't want any of that junk anyway. I stood frozen in the doorway, my cane trembling in my grip. What are you talking about? My voice came out as a whisper, but in the morning quiet, it might as well have been a scream. They both jumped. Jessica's face went white. Derek recovered faster, sliding the papers under a folder with practiced ease. Mom, you're up early. We were going over some financial planning. Financial planning for what? For selling my house? It's not like that, Jessica started, but Derek cut her off. Margaret, let's be realistic here. You're 68 years old. You just had major surgery. That house is a liability now, not an asset. The smart move is to liquidate while the market is hot and use the proceeds to secure your care. My care? I felt dizzy. I gripped the doorframe. I don't need care. I'm recovering. I'm going home. Another look between them. This time, they didn't bother hiding it. Mom, Jessica said, and her voice had changed. The warmth was gone. This was the voice I remembered from her teenage years, hard and impatient. We need to talk about your living situation. We've been in contact with Shady Pines. They have an opening. It's a really nice facility. You'd have your own room, activities, medical staff on call. I'm not going to a nursing home. It's not really up to you anymore. Those words hit me like a physical blow. I stared at my daughter, this stranger wearing my daughter's face, and I saw something I had refused to see for years. I saw greed. I saw calculation. I saw Derek's influence, finally completing its work on whatever goodness had once existed in her heart. What do you mean it's not up to me? Derek stood up, and for the first time, he dropped the pretense entirely. It means we have power of attorney, Margaret, medical and financial. You signed the paperwork last month, remember? When you were still on the heavy pain medication after your therapy session. The room spun. I did remember signing something. Jessica had said it was insurance forms, medical releases, routine paperwork. I had been exhausted, my hip throbbing, my mind foggy from the pills. I never agreed to power of attorney. The documents say otherwise. Derek smiled, and there was no pretense of kindness left. As of February 15th, we have full legal authority to make decisions regarding your health care and your finances, including the disposition of your assets. You tricked me. We protected you, Jessica said, but she couldn't meet my eyes. You're not capable of making these decisions anymore, Mom. The doctors agree. What doctors? Dr. Randall signed a statement confirming your cognitive decline. It's all documented. The court will see that we're acting in your best interest. Dr. Randall was their family doctor. He played golf with Derek every Sunday. Of course he would sign whatever they put in front of him. I stood there in that kitchen, in my daughter's house, and I understood finally and completely that I was not a guest. I was a prisoner. They had taken my mail so I wouldn't see what they were doing with my accounts. They had isolated me from my friends by moving me 45 minutes away from Cincinnati. They had drugged me into signing away my rights. And now they were going to put me in a nursing home and sell my house out from under me. Everything Richard and I had worked for, everything we had built, gone. The Shady Pines people are expecting you tomorrow, Derek said. I suggest you spend today packing. He left for work. Jessica disappeared into her home office. I sat in my room, staring at the wall, and something fundamental shifted inside me. The part of me that had always believed the best in people, that had spent 40 years caring for the sick and suffering, that part went quiet. In its place, something older and colder woke up. I was not going to let them win. The first thing I needed was information. I waited until Jessica left for her tennis lesson, which she never missed on Wednesdays, and then I searched the house. In Derek's home office, I found a folder labeled Mom's Estate. Inside were copies of everything: the fraudulent power of attorney with my shaky signature, bank statements showing transfers from my accounts to theirs, totaling over $30,000 already, correspondence with a real estate agent about listing 247 Maple Street, and a contract with Shady Pines for long-term residential care at $6,000 per month to be paid from the proceeds of my home sale. They had thought of everything, except for one thing. Richard, my husband, had been a cautious man, a planner. 3 months before he died, when we first got his diagnosis, he sat me down and told me about something he had never mentioned before. "Maggie," he said, using his private name for me, "I've set something aside. A safety net, just in case." He had rented a safety deposit box at First National Bank in downtown Cincinnati, in both our names. Inside, he told me, were copies of our most important documents: our marriage certificate, the deed to our house, his will, life insurance policies, and something else. A letter with instructions. "If anything ever happens," he said, "if you're ever in trouble and you don't know who to trust, go to the bank, open the box, read the letter." I had forgotten about that conversation until now, but I couldn't get to Cincinnati. I had no car. I had no money. My wallet was in Jessica's safekeeping, and tomorrow they were shipping me off to Shady Pines. I only had one chance. Tonight. At 2 a.m, when the house was silent, I crept out of my room. My hip ached but held. I found my purse where Jessica had hidden it in the hall closet, removed my driver's license and the $20 bill I always kept in the hidden pocket, and called a cab from the landline in the kitchen. The cab took me as far as my $20 would go, which happened to be the Greyhound station in downtown Columbus. From there, I used a credit card I had kept secret for years, one Richard had opened in my name for emergencies, to buy a ticket to Cincinnati. I arrived at First National Bank at 9 o'clock sharp, just as they opened. The safety deposit box was still there. Still in both our names. Still accessible to me. Inside, I found exactly what Richard had promised. All our documents. The deed to 247 Maple Street, clearly showing me as the sole owner after Richard's death. His will, leaving everything to me, with Jessica receiving a small inheritance only after my passing. And the letter, "My darling Maggie," it began, "if you're reading this, then I'm gone and something has gone wrong. I hope I'm wrong about our daughter. I hope the doubts I've had about Derek have been unfounded. But if they haven't, here's what you need to do." The letter continued for 3 pages, laying out a detailed plan. Richard had anticipated almost exactly what had happened. He had arranged for copies of all our critical documents to be held by his old college friend, Harold Zimmerman, who happened to be a retired attorney specializing in elder law. Harold's contact information was at the bottom of the letter. I called him from a payphone outside the bank. "Margaret Reed?" Harold's voice was warm but surprised. "Richard told me you might call someday. I hoped you never would. Tell me what's happened." I told him everything. "Don't go back there," he said firmly. "They'll try to have you committed, use that fraudulent mental competency claim. We need to move fast. But first, we need to get you somewhere safe." "I don't have anywhere to go." "Actually, you do. Your house. The one on Maple Street. You're still the legal owner, regardless of what documents they've forged. The locks haven't been changed yet, have they?" They hadn't. "Go home, Margaret. Barricade yourself in if you have to. I'll have a cease and desist letter delivered to your daughter and son-in-law by end of business today. And tomorrow, we file a complaint with the County District Attorney's Office for elder abuse, fraud, and forgery." I took a bus from Cincinnati back to my neighborhood. I walked the last 6 blocks, my hips screaming with every step, until I reached 247 Maple Street. My house, my home. It looked exactly as I had left it 4 months ago, except for a real estate agent's sign on the front lawn. I pulled that sign out of the ground and threw it in the garbage can. Then I went inside, locked every door, and sat down in Richard's old chair. The war had begun. The next 3 days were chaos. Jessica called 17 times. Derek called 12. They left messages ranging from sickeningly sweet to threatening to absolutely furious. They showed up at the house twice, pounding on the door, demanding I let them in. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Harold Zimmerman's cease and desist letter had arrived, informing them that any attempt to enter the property, contact me directly, or proceed with any financial transactions involving my assets would be considered criminal harassment and reported to the authorities. The police came on day 2, sent by Jessica, who had reported me as a missing, vulnerable adult. I showed them my ID, showed them the deed to my house, and explained the situation calmly. They left. An hour later, Adult Protective Services came for a welfare check. I showed them the forged power of attorney, the fraudulent competency letter, and the bank records showing the stolen funds. "Ma'am," the social worker said, her face grim, "this is serious. Have you filed a police report?" "My attorney is handling it." By day 4, Jessica and Derek's bank accounts were frozen pending investigation. The real estate listing was suspended. Dr. Randall, confronted with evidence that he had signed a medical document without ever examining me, suddenly couldn't remember anything about any competency assessment. But I knew it wasn't over. People like Derek didn't give up easily. He had too much at stake. His reputation, his finances, possibly his freedom. He would try something. The something came on day 5. I was in the garden, pulling weeds that had grown in my absence, when a car pulled up. Not Jessica's Mercedes, not Derek's BMW, a minivan. Out of it poured Jessica, Derek, and 3 people I recognized from old family photos. Derek's parents and his sister. They walked toward me like a funeral procession. Margaret, Derek's mother, a pinched woman named Vivian, began. "We're here as a family to discuss this situation." "There's nothing to discuss. Please." Jessica stepped forward, and I was startled to see tears on her face. "Mom, I know we made mistakes. We were wrong. But you have to understand, we were worried about you. You were alone. You fell. You could have died. We just wanted to help. By stealing $30,000 from me, by forging my signature, by trying to sell my house, we were going to use that money for your care. You were going to use it for yourselves." I looked at Derek, who stood slightly behind the others, his face a mask of calculated concern. "How much did you spend on your new boat? How much went to your country club dues?" His mask slipped, just for a second. "See?" his sister chimed in. "See how paranoid she is? This is exactly what Derek was telling us. She's not well. I'm perfectly well, which is why I filed criminal charges." The group fell silent. "What charges?" Vivian demanded. "Fraud. Forgery, elder abuse, financial exploitation. My attorney assures me the district attorney is very interested in the case." I paused. "Derek, you might want to consult a lawyer." His face went gray. Jessica started crying harder, but it was Derek's father who surprised me. "Son," he said slowly, "what exactly did you do?" "Nothing." "She's confused. She's making it up." "I have documents," I said. "Bank records. The forged power of attorney. Your own paperwork showing the house sale plan. It's all with the DA." "You had no right to go through my things," Derek snarled, dropping any pretense of sympathy. "They were in my daughter's house. About my property and my money. I had every right." Derek took a step toward me, his hands clenched, and for a moment, I felt genuine fear. He was a big man, athletic, and there was something ugly in his eyes. Then a voice spoke from behind me. "I'd stop right there if I were you." I turned. Standing on my back porch was a woman I didn't recognize. She was about my age, maybe a little younger, with short gray hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. She was holding a phone. "I've been recording this entire conversation," she said calmly. "That looked an awful lot like you were about to assault this woman on her own property. Want me to call 911? Derek froze. "Who the hell are you?" Vivian demanded. The woman smiled. "I'm Doris Whitaker. I live next door. Just moved in last month." She looked at me. "I was a prosecutor in Columbus for 30 years before I retired. I came over to introduce myself and heard all this commotion." A prosecutor. The woman who had just witnessed Derek's entire family trying to pressure me was a former prosecutor. Derek's face went from gray to green. "I think you all should leave," Doris said pleasantly. "Unless you want to add witness intimidation to the charge sheet." They left. Without another word, without another threat, they simply turned and walked back to their cars and drove away. Derek was the last to go, and the look he gave me was pure hatred. When they were gone, Doris came down from the porch and extended her hand. "Neighbor to neighbor," she said. "That looked like a bad situation. Are you all right?" "I am now." I shook her hand. "Thank you. You didn't have to do that. I used to put people like that husband in prison. Some habits die hard." She glanced at the retreating cars. "Listen, I wasn't exaggerating about the recording. If you need it for your case, it's yours. And if you need someone to talk to about navigating all this, I've got nothing but time." I started crying then, for the first time since this whole nightmare began. Not from sadness, but from relief. For weeks, I had felt utterly alone. And now, in the space of 5 minutes, a stranger had become my ally. "Would you like to come in for coffee?" I managed. Doris smiled. "I thought you'd never ask." That was 3 months ago. The case against Jessica and Derek is still working its way through the courts. Harold Zimmerman tells me it's almost certain to result in convictions. Derek is facing up to 10 years for the fraud charges alone. Jessica, who claimed she didn't know the extent of what Derek was doing, may get a lighter sentence, but she'll still have a felony record. I could feel sorry for her. She's my daughter, after all. But then I remember those words. "It's not really up to you anymore." I remember the coldness in her eyes. I remember the plans to dump me in a nursing home and sell my memories. Some betrayals can't be forgiven. They can only be survived. I got my money back. Most of it. The house was never sold. I've had the locks changed, the security system upgraded, and a new garden planted in the backyard. Vegetables this time. Tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers. Doris and I have dinner together twice a week. We play Scrabble on Sunday afternoons. She's teaching me about wine, and I'm teaching her about roses. We don't talk much about the case anymore. We talk about books and politics and our late husbands and what we want from whatever years we have left. Last week, she said something that stuck with me. "Margaret, when I prosecuted elder abuse cases, I saw a lot of victims. Most of them never recovered, not financially, not emotionally. They spent their last years broken, ashamed, wondering what they did wrong. But you're different. You fought back." "I had help," I said. "Richard's planning, Harold's expertise, your courage." "No." She shook her head. "We gave you tools, but you had to pick them up. You had to choose to fight. A lot of people in your position would have just accepted it, told themselves it was easier, told themselves their daughter must have had her reasons." She looked at me intently. "Why didn't you?" I thought about it for a long time before answering. "Because I spent 40 years taking care of other people," I finally said. "Patients, family, everyone but myself. I thought that's what good women did. Sacrifice, accommodate, put everyone else first. And then, when I needed care, the people I had sacrificed everything for tried to throw me away." I paused. In that moment, something woke up inside me, some part of me that had been sleeping for decades, and that part said, "No. No more. My life is mine." Doris raised her glass. "To your life," she said. "To my life," I echoed. "I'm 68 years old. I live alone in the house my husband and I built together. I have a garden that needs tending, and a neighbor who needs beating.